The CEO panics without an Arabic translator until the janitor's daughter takes over the meeting and uncovers the billionaire's fiancé's scams. Before we jump in this story, please subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends. The December wind sliced through the glass towers of Makati like a sharp blade, carrying with it the unforgiving chill of the strongest Amihan season in years. Raphael Illuster pulled his navy trench coat tighter around him as he stepped out of his black luxury SUV, the warmth from the heated seats already slipping from his memory. At 52, he was the tycoon behind Illuster Holdings, one of the Philippines' largest real estate empires, net worth Philippine peso 160 billion. But no amount of wealth could warm the frozen emptiness that had lived in his chest since the death of his wife and son 3 years ago. "Sir Raphael, the reservation is secured for 7:30, said Joel Santos, his ever-efficient assistant, as he closed the door behind him. "The board is already waiting inside La Mesa Alta." Raphael nodded, barely hearing him, his eyes catching movement in the alley beside the restaurant. Huddled next to a graffiti-stained wall, a little girl no older than 7 sat shivering in the wind. She wore a faded pink hoodie far too thin for the cold and hugged a battered plush tarsier to her chest. Her tangled hair clung to her cheeks and her bare legs were smudged with soot. Yet she sat with an odd sense of patience, as if waiting for something or someone. "Sir?" Joel asked, noticing his boss had stopped. But Raphael was already moving toward the child, his instincts overriding logic. "Hi there," he said gently, crouching down to meet her gaze. Her eyes, dark, rich, filled with a quiet storm of intelligence, stared back at him. Eyes like that didn't belong on the streets. "What are you doing here, Iha? Where's your family?" The girl clutched the tarsier tighter. "Mama said she'd come back. She said not to move." Her voice was soft but firm. "What's your name?" Annika de la Cruz. "This is Bunso," she added, holding up the tarsier. "He's not scared, so I try not to be scared too." Raphael's throat tightened. "How long have you been waiting, Annika?" She looked up at the sky as if consulting the stars. "Since the sun was up there." Raphael checked his Rolex. It was nearly 7:15 p.m. "And where do you stay when your mama doesn't come back?" "Tita Nina says I can sleep behind the car repair shop if I stay quiet, but the Kuya boys yell when they drink." The casual cruelty in her words made Raphael's blood run cold. He thought of his own sprawling mansion in Ayala, Alabang, 30 rooms, 8 bathrooms, and no one waiting for him inside. He glanced at Joel. "Cancel the dinner." Joel's eyes widened. "Sir?" Raphael turned back to Annika. "I'm going to have dinner with some people tonight. Would you like to join me? It's warm inside, and there's real food. I bet they even have hot chocolate." Annika looked at him suspiciously, then down at her ragged clothes. "But I'm dirty. I'm not fancy like you." "You're perfect just as you are," Raphael said. He extended his hand. "What do you say, Annika? Shall we eat together?" After a long pause, Annika placed her small freezing hand in his. That single moment changed Raphael's life. As they walked toward the soft lights of La Mesa Alta, she looked up. "Tito Raphael?" "Yes, Anak." "Are you an angel?" "Tita Nina says angels look like ordinary people." Raphael paused mid-step, overcome. "No, Annika. I'm just someone who needed to meet a very brave little girl tonight." Inside the restaurant, the Mater D, Jericho Romano, blinked in confusion at the pair. In 3 decades, he'd seen politicians, celebrities, and billionaires. But never this. Raphael nodded coolly. "Private room. And a child's menu, please. Also, the best hot chocolate you have." Jericho recovered and guided them through a sea of crystal chandeliers and hand-carved wood panels. Annika stared in awe. "It's like a palace," she whispered to Bunso. At the far end, the board of Illuster Holdings sat in silence, stunned at the sight of their CEO with a street child in tow. Tomas Enriquez, a gruff tycoon from Cebu, finally spoke. Rafael, who is this? Rafael pulled out a chair beside him for Annika. Gentlemen, this is Annika de la Cruz. She'll be joining us for dinner. I trust none of you have a problem with that. His tone brooked no argument. Annika's eyes sparkled as warm plates arrived. For the first time in years, Rafael Ilustre felt something stir inside him hope. What he didn't know yet was that this small act of compassion would unearth buried truths, unlock long-buried secrets, and lead to a revelation that would change his life forever. Nga Jinu, Rafael said firmly. Annika is my guest, and I expect you to treat her with the same courtesy you would offer any other person at this table. The boardroom fell quiet. Annika climbed into the oversized chair beside him, her legs too short to reach the ground. She placed Bunso, her ever-loyal tarsier plushie, on the linen-covered table and arranged his little arms gently, making sure he had a clear view of the plate. Hello, Po, she said politely, her small voice carrying clearly across the table. Thank you for letting me eat with you. I promise I'll be very polite. Her words struck the room with an unseen force. These were men hardened by takeovers and high-stakes negotiations. Yet this child, frail, underfed, and brave beyond reason, disarmed them with the sincerity in her voice. Benji Lao, Rafael's closest ally on the board, leaned forward with a soft smile. Nice to meet you, Annika. That's a cute tarsier you've got. Annika beamed, the first real smile Rafael had seen from her. His name's Bunso. Mama gave him to me when I was tiny. He always helps me when I'm scared. A waiter arrived with a steaming cup of hot chocolate, topped with whipped cream and a bright red cherry. Annika's eyes lit up. Is this really for me? She whispered, barely able to believe it. Rafael nodded. All yours, Aya. She took a careful sip, then closed her eyes as if committing the flavor to memory. This is the best thing I've ever tasted in my whole life, she declared, her tone solemn and full of wonder. As course after course arrived, something extraordinary unfolded. The awkwardness faded, replaced by a genuine warmth that hadn't graced the boardroom in years. Annika's questions were innocent, but insightful about the tiny decorative spoons, the names of fancy dishes, and why businessmen always wore such itchy-looking coats. But what truly captivated the room was her spirit. During the main course, she turned to Benji and asked, Do you have daughters, Tito Benji? He nodded, surprised. 2, but they're grown now, both doctors. That's important work, Annika said thoughtfully. When I grow up, I want to help people. 2, maybe I can be a teacher. Or work at the food place that gives to hungry kids. Her words silenced the room. She had nothing, yet she only dreamed of helping others. Rafael felt a heaviness in his chest that wasn't pain, but something close to awe. This little girl, who had walked into his life less than 3 hours ago, was already changing the hearts of men whose lives revolved around numbers. Annika, Tomas Enriquez said gently, his gruffness softened. Can you tell us more about your family? Annika's small hand instinctively found Rafael's under the table. Mama had to go away, but she promised she'd be back. I stay with Tita Nina for now. She lets me sleep in the alley behind her place, but I don't think she likes kids. Her voice dropped to a whisper. She says I'm too noisy. But, she brightened, her eyes lifting toward Rafael, I think Tito Rafael might be my guardian angel. Tita Nina always says angels look like regular people when you need them most. Rafael swallowed hard. 3 years ago, he had buried his wife and son. He had buried his own heart alongside them. But now, a tiny girl was reaching into that frozen place, thawing it word by word. As dessert arrived, an elaborate chocolate. Mousse in a glass goblet. Annika gasped. It's too pretty to eat, she whispered, then took a spoonful and giggled. Okay, maybe I'll eat it just a little. As the clock neared 10:30, she fell asleep against Rafael's side, one hand Gripping Bunso, the other curled on Raphael's arm. Her quiet breathing filled the once tense boardroom with a sense of unexpected peace. "Raphael," Benji whispered, "what's your plan here?" Raphael gently adjusted Aneka's position so her head rested comfortably. "I finally know what I'm doing, Benji." Tomas, who had grown up in a squatter area of Cebu, cleared his throat. "That Aunt Nena, someone needs to deal with that. A child living in a back alley, that's criminal." Raphael nodded. Already in motion, Joel made calls during dinner. Nena Dela Cruz isn't her legal guardian. She's just been letting Aneka crash at her place when it suited her. No formal custody. Aneka's mother, Sarah Wilson Dela Cruz, has been missing for 6 weeks. No police reports, no alerts. Just gone. The room fell silent. They had shared a table with a girl whose whole life had been survival, and she still offered nothing but kindness. Raphael stood, cradling Aneka in his arms. "We'll pick up tomorrow. Tonight, I have more important things to handle." As they walked toward the exit, Joel approached urgently. "Sir, bad news. Tita Nina packed up and left during dinner. Neighbors say she was being harassed by loan sharks. She took the money you gave her last week and ran." Raphael's jaw tightened. "So she left Aneka without a word?" "Yes, sir. But there's more." Joel handed Raphael a manila folder as they slid into the SUV. "Our team ran a background check on Sarah Dela Cruz. Her maiden name was Wilson. She was a pediatric nurse at St. Dominic's Hospital in Mandaluyong. Quit suddenly 7 years ago. Disappeared after that." Raphael opened the folder, and the world tilted beneath his feet. Raphael Illuster sat on the edge of the bed and took Aneka's small hand in his. "I think your mama loves you very much, and I think she would do anything to get back to you. And I want you to know that I'm going to do everything in my power to find her. Promise. I promise." As Aneka settled down to sleep, clutching Capitan Puso close, she looked up at Raphael with complete trust. "I'm glad I met you tonight. I think maybe you needed a friend as much as I did." Raphael felt tears prick his eyes. "I think you're absolutely right." He was about to turn off the light when Aneka spoke again, her voice already thick with sleep. "Tito Raphael, when I was really little, Mama used to tell me stories about my papa. She said he was brave and kind and that he would love me very much if he could find me. Do you think he's still looking for me?" Raphael's breath caught in his throat. "I think any father would be lucky to have a daughter like you, Aneka. Sweet dreams." As he closed the door softly behind him, Raphael realized that tomorrow's DNA test might just confirm what his heart already knew. And if it did, he would move heaven and earth to find Leah and bring their family together. But first he had to prepare for the possibility that he was about to become a father to a 7-year-old girl who had already stolen his heart completely. Raphael barely slept that night. He spent hours in his study staring at Leah's photograph and trying to piece together memories from 8 years ago. Every detail seemed crucial now. Every conversation, every moment of connection, every reason she might have had for disappearing so completely. At 6 a.m., he found himself standing outside Aneka's door, listening to her peaceful breathing. He had checked on her 3 times during the night, unable to shake the protective instinct that had taken hold of him so completely. The sound of small feet padding down the hallway made him turn. Aneka emerged from her room, still in her pink pajamas, clutching Capitan Puso, and looking slightly lost in the vastness of the mansion. "Good morning, sweetheart," Raphael said softly. "How did you sleep?" "Really good," Aneka said, then paused. "Tito Raphael, is it okay if I ask where the bathroom is?" I didn't want to open any wrong doors. The careful politeness of her request broke his heart all over again. "Of course. Come on, I'll show you." As they walked down the hallway, Aneka looked up at the family portraits lining the walls. Raphael had avoided this hallway for 3 years, but seeing it through Annika's eyes made him notice things he'd forgotten. "Who are all these people?" she asked, stopping in front of a large portrait of a young couple with a small boy. "That's my family from a long time ago," Raphael said, his voice carefully controlled. "My parents and me when I was about your age. Where are they now?" "They died when I was grown up, but I still miss them sometimes." Annika nodded solemnly. "I miss my mama too, but I pretend she's watching me from wherever she is, so I don't feel so alone." Raphael felt his throat tighten. That's a very smart way to think about it. They continued past more portraits until they reached one. That made Raphael stop abruptly. It was a family photo taken just 4 years ago. Raphael with his wife Elena and their 3-year-old son Matteo. They looked impossibly happy, completely unaware that within a year, a drunk driver would take both Elena and Matteo away forever. "They look really happy," Annika said quietly, studying the photo. "Is that your family too?" Raphael struggled to find his voice. "Yes, that was my family. What happened to them?" The simple, direct question deserved an honest answer. "They went to heaven 3 years ago. There was an accident." Annika reached up and took his hand, her small fingers warm and comforting. "I'm sorry they had to go away, but I bet they're proud of you for taking care of me." The innocent wisdom of her words hit him like a physical blow. Here was a child who had every reason to be bitter and angry at the world, and instead she was comforting him. Downstairs, Manning Nina was already preparing breakfast, and the smell of fresh Baracco coffee and pandan pancakes filled the kitchen. When she saw Annika, her face lit up with genuine warmth. "Magandang umaga, Haija. Are you hungry?" Annika's eyes widened as she took in the spread Manang Nina had prepared. Fluffy pancakes, mango slices, calamansi juice, and scrambled eggs. "Is this all for breakfast?" "All for you, little one. You need to eat and grow strong." As Annika ate with the careful appreciation of someone who had never taken food for granted, Raphael's phone rang. Carlo Reyes' name appeared on the screen. "Sir, I have updates on both situations," Carlo said without preamble. The investigator found security footage from the night Leah Dela Cruz was taken. 3 men in a black SUV, but the license plate traces back to a shell company. We're digging deeper. "And there's more, sir. I spoke with neighbors in Laya's building. She had been receiving threatening phone calls for weeks before she disappeared. Something about money owed by someone named Thomas Morales." Raphael felt ice form in his veins. Morales. As in Betty Morales, Annika's fake aunt? "It appears so. Sir, Tomas Morales was Betty's boyfriend. He'd borrowed money from some very dangerous people and disappeared. They thought Leah might know where he was or where the money was hidden." Raphael watched Annika carefully cutting her pancakes into perfect squares, humming softly to herself, completely unaware that her mother might have been taken because of someone else's mistakes. "Keep digging, Carlo, and double the security. Detail: if these people are still looking for Tomas Morales, they might come looking for Annika." Even after 12 hours, hearing that single word, "Daddy," from Laya's lips still sent a wave of warmth through Raphael Illuster's chest, as if it had the power to thaw every cold moment he'd lived since losing his family. "Are you going somewhere today?" she asked while nibbling on her breakfast of eggs and pandezel, her big brown eyes full of quiet understanding. Raphael knelt beside her chair and carefully chose his words. "I have some important things to take care of today, sweetheart. Manang Maria will be with you, and a few nice security guards will be outside to keep you safe, okay?" But Leah, wise beyond her years, tilted her head and asked, "Is it about Mama?" Raphael nodded. Without a word, she reached into her tiny shorts pocket and pulled out the pink and blue friendship bracelet she'd made. "Can you give this to her? So she know I'm okay and that I love her." Raphael accepted the small bracelet like it was a sacred relic, its threads heavier than gold. I promise I'll give it to her myself, and I'll tell her everything, that you're safe, that I'm your daddy now, and that we're going to be a real family. At 2:30 p.m., Raphael sat silently in the back of an armored SUV, 3 blocks away from a rundown warehouse in Tondo. Tactical gear clung to his frame, unfamiliar but necessary, a stark contrast to the tailored suits he usually wore. Around him, 12 men he trusted with his life were in position, waiting for his signal. "Sir," David's voice crackled through the earpiece, "we've got 5 heat signatures inside. One of them is restrained in the northeast corner. Could be her." Raphael's heart raced after 8 years. He was moments away from seeing the woman who had once saved his life and the mother of his daughter. The team moved in silently through the side entrance, slipping like shadows past oily crates and rusted beams. They reached the room. Through a dirty window, Raphael saw her, Sarah. Her frame was thinner, her hair shorter, but her eyes, Laya's eyes, hadn't changed. She was tied to a chair, staring into space with the same quiet strength he remembered from long ago. 2 guards stood outside the door. Raphael's men took them down without a sound. As the door opened, Sarah looked up, first with fear, then disbelief. "Raphael?" she whispered, her voice hoarse from weeks of captivity. "It's really me," he said gently, cutting her free. "We need to go." "How did you find me? How did you even know I was missing?" she asked in a daze, struggling to her feet. "It's a long story," Raphael said, steadying her with his arm. "Right now. You just need to know that Leah is safe. She's with me." Sarah froze. "With you? You found her?" Before Raphael could respond, David's voice snapped through the earpiece. "Sir, we've got company. Multiple vehicles incoming." "It's Clav," Raphael cursed. Victor Clav, the ruthless underground lender who rarely showed up unless things were spiraling. They had to move. They raced through the warehouse, weaving through stacks of crates, Sarah leaning heavily on Raphael. "I can't," she gasped. "I'm too weak." "You can," Raphael told her firmly. "Laya's waiting for you. Our daughter is waiting for you." She stopped, stunned. She's really yours?" Raphael nodded. "DNA confirmed it. She's ours, Sarah." That truth gave her strength. They burst through the back loading dock just as David's team triggered a timed explosion on the far side of the warehouse, drawing Clav's men away. James was behind the wheel of the armored SUV, engine running. Raphael and Sarah dove into the back seat, bullets smashing the back window as they peeled away onto the main road. "Is she really okay?" Sarah asked breathlessly. "They told me they'd hurt her if I didn't cooperate." "She's perfect," Raphael said, holding up the bracelet. "She made this for you. She wanted you to have it." Sarah cradled the bracelet like it was made of crystal. "I need to see her. Right now." 5 more minutes, Raphael whispered, watching the city blur past. "And you'll be home." Their story was just beginning. What started as a chance encounter on a freezing night had unfolded into the rediscovery of a lost love, the reunion of a family torn apart by deceit, and the awakening of a man who had once thought his life was over. The next chapters would not be easy. There were legal hurdles to clear, dangers still lurking, and a woman on the run who had manipulated their lives for nearly a decade. But in that living room, surrounded by twinkling lights, the scent of gingerbread cookies, and the laughter of a little girl who had finally found her place in the world, none of that mattered. Not yet. Tonight was for joy, for holding on to the people who mattered most, for believing that no matter how dark the past had been, the future could still be bright. And as Marcus looked into Sarah's eyes and saw the fierce, unwavering love that had endured 8 long years, and as he kissed the top of Laya's head, he knew with absolute certainty this was the life he was meant to have. And nothing, no shadow from the past, No ghost hiding behind a false identity would ever take it from them again. Together, they were unstoppable. Together, they were finally home.